to go back to the beginning, I was working as a photographer in London when I met and then joined the Roy Hart Theatre. And the history goes back right to before the First World War, with a man called Alfred Volson, who started the work that the Roy Hart Theatre are now doing, or the Roy Hart Voice Centre are now doing. And so, having been a photographer, really just doing headshots for actors, I then found myself taking photographs of what was then the Roy Hart Theatre, which was more than 50 people. So I started taking pictures of the rehearsals, of the performances, of the life together. And I realized that there was a whole lot of photographic material preceding my arrival, because the work had been in existence for many, many years. Alfred Volson was helped to escape to England before the outbreak of the Second World War. And he started to work with certain students, including Roy Hart. Roy Hart came from South Africa. He'd won a scholarship to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. So I realized there was a lot of documentation of the history of the work. So I started to safeguard it and then add. I wasn't the only photographer. There were other members of the theatre. There was David Goldsworthy, Charles Ryan, Joseph Clark. They all contributed. So actually, over the years, it's probably the most photographed theatre in the world. We've got literally thousands of pictures. So I started to gather all the archives together of the photographic material. And about 10 years ago, I think I did an iBook. It was actually Apple iBook, but it was limited because you have to have Apple computer in order to be able to see the book. But that was the beginning of my thinking it would be really good to have a visual history of the work. Eventually, maybe a documentary, eventually, maybe with sound extracts. But being a photographer, the visual aspect really interested me. So I gathered together and I started to put together what I would show the stagiaires, the workshop participants, when they came to Malaga. I would show them the visual history. And then gradually it seemed to make sense for it to become a book. And that was the big challenge, because there are so many thousands of pictures. It was, which ones do you select? So I made a selection of about, I think, over 500 pictures. And I went to Paris to work with Clément. Clément really helped with the book. His mother is a Roy Hart voice teacher, centre teacher. Had to get the new name worked out. And we started to work, and he said, all right, you have to now categorize the pictures. So you have to make sacred, they have to be in whatever, primary, secondary, and additional. And he actually made me cut down 540, I think, pictures down to about 125. And I got really depressed on the train back from Paris that all the pictures I wanted in the book weren't going to be there. And I didn't look at it for about a month, I think, to get it over the shock of it being reduced. And then I looked at it again and I realized he was right. You know, it would have been too much to have so many pictures. So as it stands at the moment, we've got the digital version of the book. It's in French and English with text. And the question now is, ideally, we want a printed version. So at the moment, we found a printer, but of course that means paying. If it's self-published, it means paying for the copies, which is very expensive. The more you have, the cheaper it gets. So we're really at the point where we need to find out how much interest there will be in people wanting to have a printed copy of the book. If there's enough interest, we'll do a pre-order and get the funds to get the printed version. If there isn't enough interest, then we would focus more on the digital version, which can, because the big snag also is the postage. It's incredibly high. So even within France, it's high, but if you go out of France, it's very high. And if you go out of Europe, it's more expensive than the book will be. So we've got a lot of things to work out about how to get the book out there. But I think it's not only an interesting story, it's visually very interesting. And although I would say the majority of pictures of mine, a lot of other photographers have contributed. So it's a mixture of, and also before I joined the theatre, so really the pictures start just after Alfred Wolfson was born, and that was in 1896. So it's actually, this is the 130th year of Alfred Wolfson's birth. So the book actually, because the timeline was too long to have one timeline, so we broke it into 4. So there's timelines from Alfred Wolfson's birth till the outbreak of the outbreak actually of the Second World War, and then when he was able to escape to London. Then the second timeline from then till he died in 1962. Then a timeline until Roy also died in 1975. And then another timeline up to the present. So it's got 4 timelines with the pictures sort of illustrating the timeline. So that's where it is now. We're looking, ideally one would have a publisher. And then it can go worldwide and, be in all the museums and art galleries and bookshops. Mm-hmm. But we have to go step by step. So that's the story of the book. But it's been, like I think anyone who's producing something has its bumpy rides and disappointments and then excitements and then, but trying to look at it objectively, I think and Clement, I mean, it wouldn't happen without him. And Siobhan did the text and Lucien did the translation. So there's been a lot of cooperation of a team effort to get it done. But Clement did the layout, which I would never have been able to do. So we would sit together and I'd say, I want this, I want that, and boom, 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 he would do it. So that was the exciting part. The real challenge was I'd had all the pictures scanned, the paper copies, the prints. And then I realized that the negatives, when they were scanned, they were much better quality. So I had to find all the negatives of all the pictures that were available, to then rescan them from the negative to make the quality much better. That's book number 1. I think there will have to be a second volume. And I had to choose a moment where to stop it, because it's an ongoing story. Yeah. So we decided, when I say we, Clement, Siobhan and myself, we decided to actually finish the visual part with the 50th anniversary of the Roy Hart Theatre coming to Malaga. So that was in 2024. And then the very end of the book is what has now become known as the Friends of Malaga. People can actually become friends of Malaga, which I'm very excited about. I think it's much more open. And so I hope the book will really promote that it may be that someone hasn't had a lesson but there's something that interests them about the story. So I'm hoping the book will stimulate that sort of interest.
Yeah.